if you don't know the story, it goes a little something like this. Hbomberguy. He's a guy on YouTube. He makes videos. And about 4 months ago, he made a RWBY video that's about 2.5 hours long. And in that video, he's critiquing it, reviewing it, this sort of thing. It's a general idea of the video. Now, there's a tweet here, and I want to emphasize something because I might title the video Hbomberguy Accuses RoosterTeeth or something of that sort. And I would personally really dislike if someone made a video with a title like that about me if it was not true. But here's the thing. Hbomberguy literally says right here, it's his quote, okay? His words. He put this on his Twitter. He's got over 280,000 followers. So I'm pretty sure this is what he meant to say, right? So he says right here, anyways. The most shocking thing about RoosterTeeth in particular is they're actively abusing the system. So those are his words right there. RoosterTeeth in particular they're actively abusing the system. You get the point. So now let me read the full thing here and give you the rest of the context. I just want to disclaim that at the beginning because, again, I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to put Hbomberguy in some dispute with RoosterTeeth. Those are literally his words. Okay. So anyways, the full thing now. He says, I got interviewed by the EFF about having to re-edit the RWBY video 1,000,000 times. Since that interview, a years old video of mine about ukulele, I pronounced that so weird. I don't think I've ever actually seen ukulele spelled out. That's kind of funny. Has also been blocked completely, and the Sherlock video is currently blocked in the UK. Let me just say right there, I feel for the guy. That sounds very annoying. And there's a reason why I actually stopped doing reaction anime content. I didn't do much of it, but I did a couple reaction things here and there, a couple series. Like Darling in the Franxx was one years ago. And it was just a nightmare. I stopped doing that sort of content because the content ID system is a real pain. Hbomberguy goes on to say, the most shocking thing about RT in particular is they're actively abusing the system. They aggressively block content in order to get people to email them privately and agree to their terms. And if you agree, if you agree, the claim is downgraded so they merely monetize your work. I'll explain that a little bit from my perspective as well in a moment. He also says, for a company that came to prominence by cleverly reusing copyrighted material, and that got that far because Bungie and Microsoft allowed them to, this, for me, was far more disappointing than the cartoon I didn't like. So he's referring to, if you don't know, Red vs. Blue is pretty much how RoosterTeeth got started, to my understanding. So there you go. Red vs. Blue is using Halo IP, essentially. Now, let's talk about this, because I used to do RWBY reactions as well, so I can tell you. Let me start by saying this is not a legal opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to accuse RoosterTeeth. I'm not going to accuse RT of breaking the law or anything like that, okay? Here's just my opinion from what I've experienced when I used to do RWBY reactions. RoosterTeeth seems to have a set of guidelines that they want you to follow if you react to their content or really use their IP in any sort of way. Now, what their guidelines say isn't necessarily what the law would agree with or disagree with. What I'm getting at is RoosterTeeth's guidelines are not necessarily with or without legal merit. Again, I'm not going to accuse them of anything, but I will say, to my understanding of fair use, there's a very fair argument to say that RoosterTeeth is indeed overreaching in that sort of policing of the content, if you want to put it like that. Or as Hbomberguy says, they aggressively block content in order to get people to email them privately and agree to their terms. And if you agree, the claim is downgraded, so they merely monetize your work. Now, I'll also mention something here, another anecdotal experience with RT. When I was first getting started on YouTube, I had a series called the RWBY Who Would Win series, where I was putting different characters that never fought in canon up against each other and doing like an analysis on who would win. We would talk about the weapon, the semblance, and this sort of thing. I only ended up doing like 3 videos because they were so time consuming to look into, to write the script and all that. And I say script and I'm stuttering there for a moment because I really don't like scripts. I don't like them at all. But again, this is when I was starting YouTube, and you learn what you like and dislike when you experience things, right? Turns out I didn't like doing the reaction content. I didn't like doing the scripted content. And now here I am being a lazy weeb who just talks into his mic about things. So there you go. But the point I'm getting at is I actually emailed RoosterTeeth back then because I experienced that. They claimed my videos and they monetized the whole videos. So I emailed them saying, hey, I would like to keep doing these RWBY Who Would Win videos, but I'm working at a restaurant. I'm still a college student. I'm not making much money. Could we do a revenue split instead of you taking all my revenue? It was a simple question. Never heard back from them. Now, I'm not going to drag them that much. You know, I was just a random content creator at the time, and, you know, I wasn't necessarily expecting a response, but, you know, it's just another anecdotal thing. Now, let's actually read what they say here at EFF.org about Hbomberguy. And I've already skimmed through the article here, and they talk about a lot of other stuff as well that Hbomberguy has experienced, but I want to stick on the RWBY portion. So we're not going to read the whole thing, but we'll take a look. EFF.org, title, Unfiltered, how YouTube's content ID discourages fair use and dictates what we see online. So as I mentioned, this report covers a variety of topics. I think I actually didn't mention this properly. They talk about numerous things with Hbomberguy aside from RWBY, but they also talk about a lot of interesting stuff here as well that has nothing to do with Hbomberguy. Well, aside from him being affected by the system and all that, you get the point. So if you want to read this, I will copy paste the headline in my description. All you got to do is copy paste the headline and put it in your search engine. You should be able to find this article. Anyways, interesting stuff. Let's scroll down, however, to Hbomberguy. I'll read the intro, though, to give you a little bit more context here. Although I think we all get the point of what we're reading, but just in case, we'll just read like the first paragraph here. Introduction. The internet promised to lower barriers to expression. Anyone with access to a computer and an internet connection could share their creativity with the world, and it worked, spurring amongst other things, the emergence of a new type and generation of art and criticism, the online creator, independent from major labels, movie studios, or TV networks. I'll read a little more. However, that promise is fading once again, because while these independent creators need not rely on Hollywood, they are bound to another oligopoly, the few internet platforms that can help them reach a broad audience, and in the case of those who make videos, they're largely dependent on just one platform, YouTube. EFF goes on to say that dependence has real consequences for online creativity because YouTube is the dominant player in the video market. Its choices dictate the norms. And unfortunately for creators, YouTube has proven to be more interested in appeasing large copyright holders than protecting free speech or promoting creativity. Through its automated copyright filter, the content ID system, YouTube has effectively replaced legal fair use of copyrighted material with its own rules. Now, I think we're all on the same page here, so let's move on to Hbomberguy. Now, this article goes on to use Hbomberguy's real name. That's generally something I would avoid including in a video, but they use it a lot here. I'm not going to be able to redact it all, and Hbomberguy retweeted the article, so I assume if he would have had an issue with that, he would have had them remove it, so it seems like he's fine, I assume, or presume, actually. Anyways, they say, Hbomberguy is a video essayist with over 600,000 subscribers on YouTube. In July 2020, he posted a video called RWBY Is Disappointing, and Here's Why, which has been viewed over 1.5 million times. The review criticizes an animated series called RWBY, using clips as part of that criticism. However, prior to posting the video, Brewis and his producer found themselves dealing with a very complicated content ID situation. Because of the length of the video, 2.5 hours, Brewis uploaded 20-minute chunks of it to YouTube as he was editing so that he could see what triggered content ID and make changes. Each portion of the video passed content ID, but after uploading the full video, Brewis saw it come back with 1 or 2 content ID matches. So let me kind of clear up what's going on here if you don't understand. You probably do, but just to be safe. Because the content ID system, if he uploads the full 2.5 hour long video, it's going to take a long time, and then he'll see how many places got hit, and he's probably expecting a lot to get hit if he uploads the full thing. So instead of doing that, he's starting with smaller portions so that he can see if it works, if the automated system claims the video or not, and then he'll continue editing it together and eventually uploading the full thing, which he would then presume to be fine, right? So continuing. But after uploading the full video, Brewis saw it come back with 1 or 2 content ID matches. He re-edited the video only to find new matches. So when you upload the video and you get the claims, it'll tell you like from this time portion to that time portion. Let's just make something up and say like from 3 minutes and 45 seconds to 4 minutes and 15 seconds, it got claimed. So then he would re-edit it to my understanding of what they're saying here. He would edit that part out or make some changes so it hopefully wouldn't detect that, and then he would upload it and hopefully be fine. So anyways, continuing. He repeatedly edited and uploaded the video, getting a small number of matches every time. And a quote here from him: "The shocking part was every time it happened, I thought, oh, great, it only got hit twice. That's really encouraging." And then the next would get hit 3 times. So that must be frustrating, right? It gets hit twice. You make edits so that it doesn't get hit in those 2 areas at all, but then it comes back with 3 hits. Part of the problem was that the show Brewis was criticizing, RWBY, is owned by a company called RoosterTeeth, which has set content ID to automatically block any video with a match. RoosterTeeth tells users to dispute the match, a response that, as noted, is intimidating to creators and actively discouraged by YouTube. If creators do dispute, RoosterTeeth either monetizes the video for itself or removes the claim. And that's a quote there. Based on its own determination of whether the use is lawful. Let me stop there for a moment, though. I thought they might expand on this, so I'm going to elaborate a little more. Where they said intimidating to creators and actively discouraged by YouTube. I think, and I can only assume what they're saying here, of course, but I think what they're getting at is when you do send the dispute forward, there's a little disclaimer that pops up essentially saying if you're not acting within the legal fair use or if you're abusing the law, essentially, that they're going to take action against you. So I think that's kind of what they're mentioning in that area. Anyways, continuing. Based on its own determination of whether the use is lawful, RT monetized at least one of Hbomberguy's drafts of the video, meaning that it would make money off the review, and Hbomberguy, who planned to donate the proceeds, would not. Eventually, manually checked every part of his video to make sure no clip was over 5 seconds. Overall, the process of re-editing the video to pass content ID took a week and a half of extra work and cost $1,000 in fees to a lawyer to assess the clips. Wow. So it seems like Hbomber was doing this as legitimately as he possibly could, right? And that's actually where I'm going to stop reading this because the rest of it's so wordy. I felt like it was actually a little boring to read on video at least. It's interesting stuff, but it sounds wordy. It's all these technicalities and all that. So I'm cutting that part out of the video. And if you want to read the rest of it, you know where to find it. Now, I would like to end with my opinion expanded on a little further here. And don't take this in any way, shape, or form as me defending the system, which does seem to be broken. Because I certainly don't want to defend that system. But at some point, I think if the problem is that bad, maybe you shift how you produce your content. Should you have to do that? Probably not. Is it fair? Probably not. Is life fair? No, life is not fair. So again, what I personally did, because I used to make more anime reaction, anime theory, compilation, top 10 or whatever videos, I am pretty familiar with the content ID system and things like that. But it was so annoying for me to deal with that I spent a lot of time building up my channel's direction in a whole different direction where I would no longer have to use anime clips and do that sort of content anymore. So again, is it fair? Is it right? No, not really. But if you can make a change on your end, maybe that's the right choice. It's a broken... It's like this, man. If you go walking down the street in a bad neighborhood, you might get mugged. Yeah, that's not fair, but what if you could have went through a safer neighborhood or something, but you wanted to take the shortcut to get to work, for example? I'm just trying to make a really simple analogy here. You know, there are things that people can do. And finally, again, I'll restate, I'm not defending the system, but, you know, you gotta do what you can in life, right? To be fair to Hbomberguy, he's doing something about this. I mean, he went on this report, he talked to them, and he's retweeting it, and he's talking about this issue and all that. So he's doing a bit more, but some people I see, for example, just complain about this stuff, and then they go continuing with the same line of content, and they complain and complain and complain, but don't make any changes. And for the 5th time now, I'm very redundant on this. Should they have to do that? Is it fair? Probably not. But what can you do? Sometimes you got to roll with the punches, not just stand there getting hit. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Hope you found this interesting. And again, if you want to check out the full article, please take a look in the description, copy paste it, or if you don't want to copy paste, you can find it on your own. There you go. Either way, it should work out, and I'll catch you next time.